Welcome everybody back today to Alabama Care. We are going live from Birmingham, Alabama today at the A.R.C of Central Alabama. And I have the absolute pleasure of being here with Mrs. Teena Miles, the Vice President of Employment Services here at the A.R.C of Central Alabama. And we're going to be talking about the Alabama Baking Company today. So at this time, I'd like to hand it over and allow you to introduce yourself. And what exactly is our employment services?
I'm Teena Miles. I am the VP of Employment Services here at the A.R.C of Central Alabama. We currently have several programs that are comprised of our employment department, which are small groups. Supported small groups include recyclability, food truck, and our local community food bank. So we have individuals that are set up into those various categories, and we try to employ them as a stepping stone into competitive employment.
Yeah, so you guys have a few activities there or programs that kind of prepping people through the A.R.C to get employed long term.
Exactly.
And what is the Alabama Baking Company?
So the Ability Baking Company is...
Ability. I've been saying Alabama. You got to smack me across the face. I apologize.
So the Ability Baking Company is a derivative of our training kitchen, which started in 2015, where we were preparing individuals for independent living skills or semi-independent living skills, where they can go in and practice hand sanitation, workplace readiness, various components of working in the community. And in 2015, we saw that there was growth in this area and that there were more people interested in the industry of food services and food prep. And we had a lot of individuals that were currently working in that area. And we were afforded an opportunity to participate in a grant by, as an extension from the Daniel Foundation through the Alabama Council of Developmental Disabilities, in addition to people with developmental disabilities grant, to start the Ability Baking Company on wheels. So now we are not only performing daily tasks in the kitchen, but now we're putting it into play with the food truck.
Yeah, so you guys had the basis since 2015
Yes.
here on location, and then it was, how do we get that into the community and get some feedback for these individuals, real life experience?
So we are trying to bring more awareness to the IDD community and to local businesses to let them know what we do, the population that we serve, and that our individuals are just as capable as working out in independent jobs as we are, and just bring more awareness to the community in general.
I think that's a great thing to do. It's like an entrepreneurial thing to do. Getting out there. And were there any barriers that you came across during that time?
Yes, we have hit a ton of roadblocks over this past year. The initial thing was the fact that we didn't know anything about how to set up a food truck. There was no guidelines, what specifications needed to be made, what provisions needed to be made. So starting from scratch, learning about what we would do, how our craft would be different from that of any other agency or any other food truck in general. And one of the biggest dilemmas was making contact with the health department. They service every area throughout Jefferson County, and we just pretty much fall into the niche of where there's a vacancy or getting things set up. And we had people that were in place that were anxious and eager to work, but we just had one issue after the other, learning protocol, learning the process, learning what's needed, learning what's essential for the food truck. And it literally took us about 11 months
Really?
to get all of that in place. And about 3 weeks ago, we got a final bill that we were clear to operate out in the community. So what we were doing initially was just giving back, and just some of the donors that had contributed to us, just going and giving some of our products so that they can see what we have to offer coming up and different things of that nature. But it has been a long road getting this started.
Yeah. So in the beginning there, I remember me and a couple of buddies, we were thinking about doing a weekend food truck at some local festivals and what have you. And then when you got into the meat, we'd gone to a local flea market kind of environment thinking, oh, this isn't going to be that big of a deal. We could just set up like a corn stand or something like that. And then all the regulations that you had to jump through were amazing. Like you had to have a different kitchen off site that you prepped all of the food at. It was like, okay, this is quite an investment of time and money here.
Yes, you have to have a commissary. You have to have an on-site. You have to just know how you're going to dispose of your wastewater, what your waste take is, clean water, fresh water. We were all like, what are they talking about? So just getting all those things lined up. You know, initially we thought the same thing, that it would just be a smooth transition. We could just set up a truck. We can get a couple of tables, tablecloths, and sell our products. No.
It's not that easy.
No. No. Learning the regulations of the health department about organic eggs, or, you know, what type of products you're going to use, what type of labels are you using? Are your products going to be prepared in-house? Are you going to have prepackaged goods? What's going to be needed on your truck? Are you preparing on the truck? Do you have storage on the truck to prepare these things? So, yeah, it was not an easy task.
But during that time, even though you might not have been able to go to different locations, you were still cooking and then getting feedback from your donors and people in the community, which I think is a really cool thing, because you see what they want, what types of food. Should you tweak a recipe a little bit? And tell me a little bit about that, kind of that feedback there.
So we've gotten great response from our donors in the past. We've also given as gifts for Christmas.
Oh, that's a great idea.
To our board members, pecan pies, just seasonal items. Last year, one of our featured items was the sweet potato cupcake, which everybody loved.
I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't put those two together originally.
I don't care for sweets, but I hear that it was really good. I mean, I've tasted it and I was like, oh, it tastes like sweet potato and it's a cupcake. But a lot of people love it. And we were trying to find something that was creative, something that was different, and we're trying to do things seasonally as well. But a lot of our board members were very excited to receive the gift and the products. We've had other companies to come in to buy for their employees for the holidays. So it was just getting ourselves established, making a name for ourselves, and that they would know that we had products that they could purchase from us down the line, and that we could also set up at their businesses to advocate for our individuals and provide additional services, or be able eventually to cater for some of those events that they may have at their corporate businesses or their lunches.
So that's kind of a long-term vision there, is the big catering aspect of it. It's a really cool idea. And I think the food truck is a great way to kind of bridge that and make those relationships. How do you reach out to, or what is the contact with different businesses in the community saying, hey, can we come to your location?
Knowing people, making the essential contacts, knowing who the key people are is essential. We've had a hard time even in that aspect of knowing who the key personnel is for various businesses and knowing the parameters in which we can go into, because you look at Jefferson County as a whole and just say, oh, we can operate, but you have unorthodox Birmingham. You have other areas that you have to get permits to go into. And if we set up appointments or we make accommodations with certain businesses, we have to ensure that we have the necessary permits to have our truck parked there, and whatever fees that we pay those fees. So there's a lot that accompanies the food truck and just getting out there.
Even though you have the go ahead from the Jefferson County Health Department, doesn't mean you can go to every location within Birmingham or Jefferson County. You have to kind of work your way through
compliance.
Do you ever think there will be more than one food truck?
Oh my goodness. Maybe down the line. If there's someone else that is willing to just take on the task and put in the effort, but it is a lot of hard work, and I'm not sure if we're ready to branch out so fast with another food truck.
Yeah. Have you had any other organizations reach out to you about the model?
No, not really. We have had a a couple of people that have seen it en route as, we're going to get things branded and get the truck wrapped and things of that nature. And they've called back and said, hey, where did you guys get that from? And what do you all do? And we've been trying to give feedback and say, this is what our goal is. This is what our mission is. This is what our company does. And we've been getting a lot of feedback from that. And of course, people have been asking, is it hard work? How do you set it up? So we've been fortunate to be able to give good responses back and be able to kind of guide some people in sense of direction, because they say, hey, I want to start a food truck. What do you do? And it was a little bit different for us because we're not set up to bake goods on the truck. Everything's prepackaged here.
Okay.
And then it goes out from our local commissary to the truck. So, but we have had a lot of comments and they've been positive so far.
Yeah, I was going to ask kind of what the community feedback is there from businesses, and then just in general, do you guys have quite a following on Facebook or a social network that you kind of blast out where you're going to be?
So in the past, we have not, but we have had an intern to come in to set us up on Facebook so that we can set our calendar up for our events. And where we will be in the future. We also will let that go out to people with developmental disabilities website as well as the Alabama Council of Developmental Disabilities, so that we can get more followers on our Facebook page, on their Facebook page, and as much advertisement as we possibly can.
We were talking about movies before we went live and shows. Have you ever seen that food truck movie with Jon Favreau, where he's a chef and he just wants to get back to his roots and he travels down to New Orleans with his son?
Yes.
I love that movie.
Every time we turn around now, we're seeing different things with food trucks, like the foodies, and they're going around, they're doing the competition with food trucks.
Oh, like a TV show?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one.
You
No.
need to see it.
You should get on that. You guys should
I'm not sure about that.
That would be like great publicity though for the community and for here locally.
Maybe.
I don't know anybody at Food Network or wherever it's airing, but maybe anybody that's watching or will see this, if you guys have a connect, please reach out. Let Mrs. Miles know.
Yes. Thank you.
And so you guys have been working on this recently in the past year, and in the past few weeks are totally up and running now. Mm-hmm. How many people are employed or training through this program?
Currently, we have 7 individuals that are either working or training. We're trying to try different individuals out to see if they're capable of doing the task and the jobs. We're working with customer service. We're looking for janitorial. We're looking for stockers, various components. As we continue to run, we're seeing more need for other things that we didn't look at in the beginning. Our ultimate goal is to hire at least 20 to 25 individuals over the next 6 to 8 months so that we can have more people that are versed in what we do. And we found that we have a lot of events on the weekends, mm-hmm. and a lot of our individuals aren't capable of working on the weekends or don't have accessibility to various locations. So we are looking into those types of things as well. So we're cross-training several individuals to work in various capacities.
25 people sounds like a lot for a food truck.
It is, but you have to have people that are advocating, that are making people aware of what we're doing, where we're out in the community. Whether it be the flyers, whether it be the screen that we have on our truck that tells what the menu is. There's also a mission statement and a value statement that runs across. Have people continuously stocking, labeling. So all 25 wouldn't be working at one time, gotcha. But we would rotate them out so that you would see different faces out in the community of various capabilities. Yeah, and that was kind of the next question: are all 25 employees, potential employees, are they individuals with a disability? Yes. That is awesome. Yes. Our primary goal is to employ individuals with intellectual disabilities as well as developmental disabilities. And initially, we were looking to employ exclusively individuals that were enrolled in our program, mm-hmm. but we are now reaching out to the general population of persons with developmental and IDD. So if somebody in the community sees this or is watching this and they say, hey, I'm looking for training opportunity or employment opportunity in the food service industry, mm-hmm.
they could be a potential candidate to come on.
We would do an assessment of those individuals, see what their strengths are. We never try to really focus on their disability and what they're not capable of doing. And we try to curtail that to something that we could utilize.
Now, are these, let's say the 25 people, is this a long-term employment or is it kind of a transitional thing?
Well, we would love for it to be something that we would keep long term, but we also realize that this is a stepping stone opportunity for some individuals, and we want to prepare them for competitive employment. So the skills that they learn here, if they continue to express an interest in the food service industry, that we can get them into local restaurants, maybe bigger businesses, hotels, various capacities that have food service opportunities. So we're not, we don't want to be selfish and say that we want to keep them and these are our set staff. We want to make sure that they have the basics of what they need and they learn it here and they can go out and be successful in the community.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I forget where I heard it, but it was like a great manager knows that if they're hiring somebody within 4 or 5 years, they want them to grow beyond that company.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really cool view to have there. And what does the other end of that funnel look like? So you guys are opening it up to anybody with a disability to come on as an employee or for training. And then about how long, or what do you think the starting working with the Ability Baking Company to being employed by a separate company, a bigger company in the community, how long do you think that would typically take?
It varies. I would say anywhere between 6 months to maybe a year. And the reason being is that we try to utilize our job coaches or our employment specialists to look at some of the areas that our individuals have weaknesses so that they can build upon that. And when we get them out in the community, you won't have so much resistance from businesses or have people reluctant to employ our individuals because of them not being able to perform certain tasks. So we try to make sure we cover all grounds. We cover mathematical skills, whether or not they can read and write, whether or not they can count money, provide correct change back. They know protocol for calling in or reporting to work, what their dress attire is. So there's still a lot of ongoing things that we try to provide supports for once they become employed or once they start training, so that once they do go out, they won't have to have that additional service or that wouldn't take away from their job performance or their job tasks that they've been assigned once they start working.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to point out that this isn't necessarily, employment isn't a new thing, but the Ability Baking Company is one way that you guys are expressing the services that you have. So it's kind of being put on top of this great structure that you guys already have, the intake, the assessment, the training, and then meeting with employers in the community. So it's a new way to do that. So even though it's only 3 weeks new in the community, this is something that's sitting upon a castle.
Yes.
How do you get a chance to be on? How would somebody reach out to you and say, I want to be on the Ability Baking Company? That's a good way to do that.
Well, they can send an email to Teena Miles. It's TEENA.MILES at ARCOFCENTRALALABAMA.org. Teena.miles@arcofcentralalabama.org. Or they could reach out to me at 205-423-6232. That's my office extension.
Is there anybody that wouldn't be eligible?
Not necessarily.
I have some families that ask if their son or daughter can be employed while they have a 24/7 caregiver. Is that an obstacle that you see in employment in general?
Well, it can be, but we try to find ways to make that creative. If we have an individual that is perhaps using a walker or utilizing a walker or a wheelchair, of course, we don't have a handicap accessible ramp for the actual food truck, but there could be other jobs that they could do, such as if they're at the tent. If we're set up and we have our tent up and our table and they're making sales, they can still work.
Yeah.
They can still sell products. They can still greet. They can, just do different little tasks that a lot of people would not ordinarily think of. And of course, they can have a personal care attendant if that is what is required, because one thing that we are required to do is workplace accommodations. And who better to provide that than a service provider such as ourselves that advocates for individuals with disabilities. So we want to make sure that there's no form of discrimination in any job task that we do. We just want to make sure that they're comfortable and we're comfortable, and that they're in the best setting possible for them to prevent them from injuring themselves or harming themselves or others, and that we have all necessary provisions accounted for when we take them out or when we have various events or functions.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice that's also a barrier, not just with the Ability Baking Company, but out in the community, like a bigger chain restaurant? If someone needs a 24/7 caregiver, do you see a lot of employment there? Or?
Generally, no. You have a lot of businesses that don't want to take that chance.
Yeah,
they consider that to be a liability.
Of having two people there?
Yes, because they're only going to pay for one. And if something happens, they typically just don't want to be held liable.
Now, in that instance, would the company pay for the individual, and then would the state pay for the care services for the caregiver?
So typically, if there is a person that is receiving 24-hour supports, there is payment for waiver services for that personal support to be with them at all times. And then the agencies or the employer would actually employ the staff.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we still provide job coaches or employment long-term and short-term supports if necessary or if needed.
Mm-hmm. I feel like some families have a little bit of a mental barrier there that employers won't employ their son or daughter plus the caregiver, in that.
And a lot of times what people fail to realize is that a lot of the family members can be the barrier for the persons receiving employment or services, because they have a laundry list of different things or different accommodations. And what we have to be mindful of is reasonable accommodations. Well, he has to be off by 6. You want what's best for your son or your daughter or your family member. But we also look at customized supportive employment and making sure that everything is appropriate and that you would not do so many unnecessary things that you would not do for others. We can't have family members on the jobs. They get upset because they feel as though you should never terminate my family member because they have a disability, and you should have empathy, and you should be ashamed of yourself for firing them or not working. So we always try to make sure we have those conversations with the parents that if you were working or if this is your job, would you have your family to come to your job? How comfortable would you be? And we try to bring it from a perspective that we don't want them to be treated any differently than anyone else. It may be obvious that there is a disability or some form of a handicap or deformity, but we don't want it to be that obvious.
And I'm sure the individuals are like, Mom, get away from me. I'm at work. Leave me alone. This is kind of the only time I get away from you.
Absolutely.
Let me spread my wings.
Absolutely.
And also from the employer standpoint too, if the individual is coming in saying, assess me on my ability to do the work, and if the work's not getting done, the employer says, want to assess you on the ability to do the work, and it's not being done. So
a lot of times, another thing that we've seen in the past, we've been used to having supports just like right there from the beginning, from interviewing phases all the way through employment, and we work with them. We are now dealing with a lot of employers that, once you start working, they want to know that you're capable of doing the job without the supports, that we would train their staff and their staff to deal with them so that they can come to them if there's any problems. Because if you're working a 6 o'clock shift and our individuals, our staff may be gone for the day, who do you talk to? Can you call your job coach? Can you call your employment specialist? Can you call your parents? You're going to have to actually communicate your needs and advocate for yourself. So self-advocacy plays a big role in that.
Yeah, just your coworkers, your new manager there. That's kind of your new group of people, and that's with anybody when you're going into a new job. It's important to make those connections and find your support group there. What is the starting pay? Let's.
So we are $775.
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, I was thinking like a Boeing 747 or a 501c3.
Oh. So the starting pay for the employees. We do above minimum wage, but we do start them out at $7.75. And it varies based on the experience because we have some individuals that have worked out in competitive employment before. And this is an adjustment because we're getting referrals in from local agencies such as A.R.C through their transitional services where people relocated and may need employment. We have people from the community that may not receive any type of waiver services, but have been diagnosed as having a developmental or an intellectual disability, and we have our own in-house individuals. So we do try to make sure that we at least start out with above minimum wage, and that they will get evaluations, they will get pay increases. All those things are discussed with them. We talk about insurance, benefits, days off, holidays.
Now, did they ever ask, is the income going to affect my benefits?
Absolutely.
And what does that look like? What do you usually see there?
A lot of times we try to be mindful of where they are before we start them to working, to make sure that they've either had benefits authorized to come in to tell them, or an analysis to say, hey, this is your income, this is what you can make, these are the earnings that you can typically get it up to. And they also discuss the benefits that can be potentially lost if they go over a certain amount, or the medical benefits that would be affected. But we have been blessed so far that we have not had to cut any hours or any provisions, even with the beginning phases where we were doing the snack shack, which was one of our where we started with the Ability Baking Company and the kitchen training, that we made sure that they had adequate amount of hours that it wouldn't affect their SSI benefits.
Yeah, I imagine and it's on an individual level every time.
Yes.
That would be on the forefront of my mind as well if I was becoming an employer. You might have touched on this, but I might have glossed over it. If you are not receiving services through the state or Medicaid, can you still be an employee?
Yes.
Okay. So it's really open to the wide community then.
Yes. We have an individual that is employed now. This is his second week on the job, and he was referred to us through A.R.C, vocational rehab, but he receives no benefits. He receives currently no medical benefits, no SSI. He has been diagnosed with a disability, but there is no compensation behind it. So he is just looking for competitive employment. He's worked out in the real world, out in the industry, and has been excited to work.
Speaking of the real world, after the Ability Baking Company, are you focusing on bigger employers like kind of chain, or more individualized small ownership businesses?
I think both, because I do work with employment services. We have a lot of individuals that are working now at various businesses, cafeterias, local colleges. We're making the connect, and we want to make sure that if our individuals are capable of working, that we can easily transition them out into bigger venues. They're not intimidated by the crowds. They can follow chain of command. They can attend to a task. So we don't want to just limit it to small businesses, because we have some individuals that work in the food service industry currently on the small chain with local mom and pops bakeries, and like Lunchbox Express that does catering over in Homewood. We have an individual that works there. We have some individuals that work over at Birmingham Southern, a few at the Sheraton. So we would love to be able to continue to bring people in. So we don't want to just limit it to a small scale of businesses that we reach out to.
We had an opportunity to sit down. I am drawing a blank right now for the gentleman's name. Sammy Bahalia. And he is a blind vendor for the state of Alabama. And the blind vendor program was set up, I think, in the 30s. But it basically states that on all federal land, the vending services there. They are saved for people that are blind. And I thought that was a really cool thing. Is there, and then that makes me think, is there any way to say on all federal land, all the food trucks have to be for people with a disability? Because I think that would be really cool. Or, you know, the cafeteria, they need to have a certain percentage of people employed on all federal.
Well, you know, in a lot of businesses, that is a state regulation or federal regulation that you employ someone, and not necessarily for a food service industry, but employ someone in your agency that has a disability. But you do have some individuals that don't want to disclose that they have a disability.
Mm-hmm. And that's their right. They don't have to say anything about it. And as an employer, you can't ask.
Right.
How do you feel about that? You feel like it
I think that it is absolutely their right, but I think that if there were any accommodations that would need to be made, that it would be welcomed to know so that we can better accommodate those individuals. And if they don't want any special treatment, and we don't want to just say, hey, well, we noticed that you have this and this going on, but if anything comes up down the line, we want to be able to kind of help preserve that job if need be. And if you know something, you would know to just do some wellness checks every once in a while on those persons to make sure that everything is working out, everything is fine, and you won't have this big surprise at the end or down the line if termination ever occurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it would be like help me help you. Just,
right.
Let's be an open communication here,
right.
But sometimes it's not always like that. People don't want to get to that point. And that's fully your right, and I totally understand it. So tell us a little bit about a specific success story of someone being employed through the Ability Baking Company.
Well, we have one individual that started with us in the very beginning when it was a training kitchen. He absolutely loves being the center of attention. He loves being a part of the bigger picture of things. He knew that the food truck was going to be something bigger. Initially, when we were talking about we were going to get a food truck and we were going to sell the goods, he said, I'm going to sell the first baked good. He's like, I can bake, I can cook, I can do whatever. He came to us, he continued to work. He said, it's taking too long for this food truck. I have a real job. So, you can't stop a person from wanting what they want. He said, I need money. We've trained him. We've provided the customer service. He's excellent at his math skills. He's excellent at taking orders. He wants to work dual jobs. He wants to work in both the food bank in addition to the food truck. And that is what he is currently doing. He just wants to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to do. He wants to make sure that he's always appropriate, that he's dressing appropriate. He'll come in on a day and he's like, hey, does Roslyn need me today? He's like, let me go change my shirt. It's like, where do you have another shirt? Where did you get another shirt from? But that is how much he really cares about his job and what he does. And he tries to balance his time out. Last Thursday, I think it was, he saw me in the hall. He said, hey, it's time for me to give an evaluation.
Ooh.
Evaluation? He said, I need a pay raise. He's like, I need to go up. Who I need to talk to? I was like, let's just work things out a little bit first and see how you do. He said, I know how to do my job. And he takes great pride in what he does. He believes in being punctual. He wants to make sure that even though he has an intellectual disability, he says that he wants to make sure that the people that can't work, he can work in their spots. He said, on the weekdays, I'll do my other job and I'll do this on the weekend. So he has made a point that he's not going to disrupt his employment during the weekdays, but for our weekend events, that he would work absolutely any and every weekend event that we have.
He's a go-getter.
Yes.
I think many people could learn a lesson from that gentleman. And was he really a self-advocate from the beginning when he reached out to you, or how did that work? How did you guys get in contact?
Well, I was actually in residential services prior to employment, and he was one of our intakes when I started the adolescent department. And he just really took a liking to the employment. He liked having money.
I like having money.
He doesn't like for people to give him things that he didn't earn or that he doesn't do for himself. And he had some experience when he was in high school doing a little work.
Kind of like through like an after school or like at a football stadium where they serve food, that kind of stuff.
Well, he actually wasn't in the food service industry when he was in school. He was more of an assistant, more of a receptionist or administrative assistant in the school. They utilized him to process mail because he can read anything. He's like, oh, this is fun. He read something the other day. He said, somebody, this is about your taxes. I was like, what are you talking about? But
put that over there. Don't want to look at that.
He is just an all-around person. So as we grew and the closer we got in our adolescent department, because it was a smaller unit, he expressed in wanting to work and wanting to be independent and wanting to have his own money so that he can go out and do a lot of extracurricular things that he wants to do that typically he would not have the finances to afford with just his SSI.
Going bowling, going to the movies, doing whatever you want.
In other places.
Yeah. Now, you say the adolescent program there is, what age are you eligible to become an employee? Through the Ability Baking Company, are really?
So we try to make sure that they're 18, at least a minimum of 18. Typically it's 21, but a lot of our individuals are over the age of 21, but we are receptive to employing persons at least the minimum age of 18.
Now, is that different than the minimum wage? Minimum age is 14, correct? Or is it 16?
Well, actually, it's 15.
It's 15.
15.
Yeah, actually, one of our video editor, Evan, he was 15 when he started editing videos. I had to get a release form from his high school saying that he had good enough grades that he could take on some additional work.
Wow.
And then he turned 16. It wasn't a problem. But why is there a difference there between 15 and 18?
I guess maybe in the work setting, you're limited with hours, and you cannot work past 10 o'clock. With our individuals, we still try to be mindful. We want to make sure they're in at an appropriate time. We don't want them out too early. We don't want them out too late. We don't want them working extensive hours without appropriate breaks. But I think generally, because when they're adolescents, you do focus more on the educational aspect and the focus on their studies as opposed to just full employment.
Yeah. That brings up a really good point. You're in those educational years, and you need to take full advantage of those opportunities there. But it could be like, I remember in high school, I had the weekends open. If I wasn't wrestling, I had the weekends open. I was always looking for a job on the weekends.
So is my niece.
Yeah.
She's 16 and she was like, "Are you all hiring?" It's like, "No, not for you."
That's a perfect age to start. So you mentioned that you really don't have to be receiving services or a part of the A.R.C. This is open for anybody through A.R.C, anybody in the community, but you kind of have to be in Jefferson County.
Yes.
What would you say to somebody watching in Montgomery?
Get in contact with your local providers, your 310 case management, or your social supports that you have there to see what they have with their local A.R.C or their voc rehab services. If they're interested in relocating to live in a residential setting, because we are an agency that provides both day rehabilitation and residential services. But to see if there's something interesting like that is coming to your area, or just kind of keep lookout on various web pages or different links to see what else may be coming available.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the future of the Ability Baking Company, like you said, with the catering services. Are you thinking about doing like weddings, the whole shebang?
We want to be that one-stop place where if you're having a corporate event, we can do that. If you're having something at your local daycare, your school, because what we found is that with the population that we serve and the direct supports that we have, they have everything coming up. We have a wonderful baking instructor, and she is self-taught. No culinary, just does an awesome job. And whatever they come to her for, whether it be a wedding cake, a birthday cake, cupcakes, various treats, she just kind of pulls it off. And I think that she can provide a lot of insight and instruction with our individuals to kind of help pull that together, and that we won't be limited in what we can do. We would still have our Building Baking Company on wheels, but we can provide whatever your service need may be.
Yeah. What about the conference for like next year, 2020?
We would love to do something for the conference.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, we did set up at the Alabama State Disability Conference in Montgomery, and we sold baked goods.
Yeah.
And we sold completely out.
I imagine.
And we only did cupcakes. So now we're more diverse. We have cupcakes, cookies, little small bites. We have pies. We have you name it, she can do it.
Now, you mentioned that you do focus a little on seasonal food. So what do you have coming up for this fall?
Oh my goodness, she's creating everything. She's focusing on this maple. I wonder if she has something in there. But she has
Maybe we'll go down after we're done here. We'll go take a look.
Because you can smell it now.
I know.
But she has a maple cookie that has bacon bits, fresh, well, like crumbled real bacon in it, and maple syrup, and some little chips that are like
little morsels of
there's
chocolate.
Some little morsels of chocolate.
Oh.
And she said, "You want to taste this?" You know, I'm more of a salty person. Give me some potato chips. They were awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Seasonally, we have some key lime cookies. She's doing some banana pudding cupcakes.
Banana pudding cupcakes.
Banana pudding
Normally, you don't think
cupcakes.
banana pudding would stick together, but a little bit more flour,
And
maybe.
cake. So she is trying to create new things that you haven't heard of. Just a lot of delicious things for the fall that we're looking forward to. A lot of things with cinnamon, a lot of different things with fresh products that we have here because we do have a garden. And we're trying to incorporate various things, such as baking breads. She does garlic cheese bread.
I think
That she let us take last week to a meeting, in addition to a sweet potato muffin, and they loved it. We took 4 boxes. We came, and there's some booyah brownies.
what?
They are chocolate gooey brownies with caramel in it. Has walnuts and pecans on the top with the little drizzles on it.
Is it almost like a lava cake when you bite into it? It's kind of gooey on the inside. Like
Yeah. But they're bites. They're little small bites, and she does them in the brownies. And also some strawberry blush brownies. We're not going to say what all is in the blush, but they're strawberry blush brownies.
Now, just hearing all of this, I would want to go home and I would want to place an order for a dozen cupcakes.
And you should.
Can I do that?
Yes, you can.
And how do I go about doing that?
You can use that same link that you have for me. You can email Teena Miles, or you can email Rosalyn Bell, ROSALYN.BLL at arcofcentralalabama.org. You can also go to our local page, our website, and there is an area where you can leave a comment or you can make a request, and they will get it to us through the Ability Baking Company, and we can get that process.
What about, have you guys thought about putting up a little quick buy button, like a
not yet.
Yeah.
But that's something to explore.
Yeah.
So we're going to get everything up on the webpage so that you can see it, and we'll be able to ship products out.
Yeah.
And turn it right back and turn around in less than 12 hours.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I imagine my grandmother has a sweet tooth, and so does my aunt. Excuse me. I'm much more of a potato chip kind of myself.
Me too.
A beef jerky and potato chips are like my go-to.
And you have bacon jerky.
No,
They have a bacon jerky.
What?
Seriously. Yes.
Through the Ability Baking Company?
No, not through us, but they have a bacon jerky. I'm not the sweet person, but I am over the bakery.
I might have to try that. Imagine that's like pouring a little maple syrup on the jerky. You know, kind of sounds delicious. Now, you mentioned that you guys have a garden here.
We do.
So, what percentage of the raw materials do you usually get out of that garden for, as opposed to going and buying it from the food store?
We've been trying to be creative and use a lot of the things out there, like the oregano. She's been making garlic bread, trying to make fresh breads with some of we have parsley, we have rosemary, we have tomatoes. So we're trying to incorporate what we currently have. any chickens
Yeah.
out there, so we can't get any eggs. But we are trying to utilize some of the products that we have out there so that we can just use everything
Yeah, be
in-house.
like fully sustainable that way.
Yes.
I would like to give a little bit of a shout out to the Pepper Place. Have you ever heard of that place?
Yes.
I recently started going there. I have an aunt who receives services, and if the family member or yourself, if you receive some form of food stamps in that way, if you go down to your local farmers market, and I believe it's statewide, but if you give them $10 in SNAP food stamps, they'll give you $20 back in credit at the local market.
Right.
It's the greatest investment. It's like a quick double up. You can't do that in the stock market in 5 minutes. And so it doubles your food stamp money, and it helps local farmers.
Right.
Now, do you guys do any of that type of stuff?
So we don't have a buyback or an incentive with the SNAP food stamps, but we are set up currently at, and I'm sure that's one of the questions down the line, where we will be, but we are currently at Vestavia Farmers Market on Wednesdays. So the remaining Wednesdays of this month in August, we will be there from 9 until 1, where we will have baked goods, we have breads, and we have some gluten-free products this time.
You said it's on Wednesdays from 9 to 1 at the Vestavia Farmers Market.
Yes.
And how long will that run?
We're currently set up to run to the end of August. When the season changes, we'll see what they have left, but typically with a lot of the farmers market, it is seasonal and it stops at a certain point. So right now we're just set up to the end of August for there. But we're also set up for Pepper Place.
Yeah.
We'll start in September. And it will be early mornings. I did not realize that place is open so early in the mornings.
8 it opens up?
So you have to be there for setup between 5:30 and 6 o'clock on Saturdays.
Really?
So we will be there in September.
I'm not going to be there at that time in the morning. Don't expect
I'll
to see
probably
my
be the
face.
latter person coming in as well. But we will be there in September, tentatively set for the entire month of September every Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll have a group out there.
So I will definitely see you then.
Hopefully you will.
Out at the Pepper Place. There are a couple, I think there's 1 or 2 food trucks. I saw one's for like a dog treat kind of thing, which is really cool. And I usually take my pup. We have a good time there. And it's funny, the people that I've run into some good friends to Region 5 there. They're just coming up like, hey, what are you doing here? You know, it's good people. It's a good environment. And I think you find that at a lot of farmers markets. So the customers that you're constantly dealing with are great people.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really good community engagement there for both parties. Yeah, so we're going to be at the Pepper Place in September. Are there any other future locations that you're thinking about?
Yes, we have. I attended Miles College in Fairfield, and we are set up tentatively to do their home games that they have in September and October with Kentucky State, Lane College, Morehouse, and Clark Atlanta. So we'll do their 4 home games. We'll be set up there. So hopefully we'll get a lot of attention because they have no other food trucks out there. We're looking at various colleges. We're also preparing to be at the Magic City Classic.
I'm kind of new to Alabama in the past few years. What is the Magic City Classic?
So that is a football game between Alabama State and Alabama A&M University.
I feel like a lot of people are going, he doesn't know what the Alabama Classic
so it's
is.
like it's your Alabama, it's your Iron Bowl. It's your Alabama Auburn. So these are your 2 historically black universities that have their annual football kickoff every year, and this year it's in October. It's October the 26th.
Here in Birmingham?
Here in Birmingham, and it'll be at Legion Field. So we will set up. We are prepared to set up out there. We are waiting for some dates to set up for a couple fall festivals, and we're just looking forward to getting more secured dates for a lot of other places and a lot of other businesses. But we will be going out the remainder of this month and next month, giving back to our corporate friends or our corporate donors that have given to us this past year, just so that they will be more aware of what we also provide, and hopefully we will be able to do something for their holiday sales or for upcoming events that they may have.
Now, this is an opportunity. Would you like to kind of shout out some of those corporate donors? You don't have to if you don't want to.
So there are 50 million people that we have that are corporate friends. We have Dex Imaging, we have PMF, we have Royal Cup, we have Red Diamond. There are so many people that I hate to start naming names because they're going to say, you didn't call my name and we paid to be corporate friends. But we have a large array of people that have really, really been supportive of us for what we do over the past couple of years.
And it's really cool for them to see what exactly the result of that is by giving them some of the products.
Absolutely.
Now, do you envision the Ability Baking Company being kind of 24/7, 7 days a week? I feel like there is the potential with everything on the weekend, all the events, and then the business stuff going on in the week.
It is. We would love for it to be an event like that. We would really have to get more people out and more people that are flexible, that have flexible hours, because the business really is beyond just daytime hours where we have people in a program or at our day program locations. And we would need people that can come out and work weekends, that can work late nights. We have been approached by one particular school system or a staff from the school system that was saying, have you all reached out so that you can do something at the concessions or do something at the football games? I hadn't thought about it because that's Friday night. Yeah. And on Friday nights, I like to be at home. But I think that as we continue to grow and our name gets out there and people are more aware of our product and they continue to give us feedback to make us better, because we want all types of feedback that we can get so that we can be the best at what we do. Mm-hmm. And we don't want people to just say, oh, it's a good product, and then it's, oh, well, no, I wouldn't buy from them. Tell us what we can do different, whether it's our customer service, if it's our presentation, if it was something that made it too salty, too sweet, too whatever. We want that type of feedback because it can only make us better than what we're already doing.
Yeah, that's a really important thing too. Like if you went from 1 truck to 5 trucks and you didn't have that feedback, it might not be the best thing,
right?
Because you'd have to tweak some things and learn the hard way there. So there's a path that you have to take in that growth.
Right.
What do you see as that path from 7 employees to 25? What does that look like for the business?
Discipline, a lot of discipline, lots of being oriented in what's important, making sure that the employees are knowledgeable of what we're there for, what the products are that we're selling, what we are as an agency, being able to make sure that we're sustainable, that they're knowledgeable of everything as it relates to the workforce, everything as it relates to self-advocacy, promoting other businesses. We want to make sure that there's no negativity and just continue the ongoing supports that they currently have. I think it can be a long process and an ongoing process that will never stop.
What percentage, let's say at 25, what percentage of the employees at that point do you think are individuals with a disability? 90%. Yeah, and that's a key figure that you guys are going to kind of really target for there. Because I was just thinking, if you open it up to the whole community, there may be somebody that is in high school and looking to get into special education or college, that this would be a great opportunity for them to get experience.
Exactly. I think it would be a great volunteer opportunity.
That's a really good,
because we have a lot of schools that come out and we're finding places. We're like scrummaging, trying to see what can you do. Hey, we have the garden. Hey, we have the library. Hey, we have this. So now we'll say, hey, we have a food truck. Yeah. So, if you want to come out and volunteer on the weekends and help us, we want those opportunities to be available for them to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great center people can get around there.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Well, we're kind of getting to the end of our broadcast today. I would like to ask what haven't we talked about? What are some really key points about the Ability Baking Company or employment through A.R.C, employment in the state in general?
Well, at the A.R.C, we are always hiring in various capacities, whether it be in our residential or our day program facilities. We have recyclability. So, of course, I'm going to advocate for the employment avenues. That is our recyclability.
Tell us about the recyclability there.
So recyclability goes out to various businesses and companies, and we destroy on site your paper products or your shredded items or items that you would like to have shredded. Natalie Russo Gazobi is our salesperson for that.
Russo, I've heard Russo before.
Yes.
Is there another Russo as well?
I don't know.
Okay, left field. Keep going.
But she can be reached at 323-6232. We have a lot of individuals that go out to various sites to they have a schedule. They know they're going out, they're going to different places to go and shred. They know the different people in the community, have good relationships, good rapport. We also have the food bank where we're preparing them so that they can go into local businesses, local grocery stores, and they can sack, they can sort, they can stock, they can pull from the existing inventory, they can assist with unloading trucks, sorting, various things of that nature. We also, of course, are going to advocate for for the food truck, because we want it to continue to grow. We want to have individuals that work on both the truck and in-house at our local commissary. We have various capacities within the agency, such as our janitorial, administrative assistants, administrative aides, nurses assistants, you name it. We are trying to create it because ultimately that is our goal as an employment department, is to create customized employment. And we're trying to meet the needs of the individuals. And we have some great partnerships with local businesses that are receptive to what we're doing and have given us an opportunity to get individuals employed throughout Jefferson County.
That's a little bit different than I've heard, like a recruiting service where they try and get somebody a job at a different business. But here at the ARC, you do both.
We do.
You in-house employment through your programs, but you also help people get employment through training through those programs and then after.
We provide supportive employment.
Yeah. And how many people are directly employed through some of the programs through ARC? We
have 31 individuals that are currently working in our small groups, and those are our food bank, recyclability, and food truck. And we also have some that are not categorized as small groups, which are our janitorial services, administration. And then we have people that live in our residential services that we provide long-term supports, job coaching, and employment. So even once they're in small groups, we still try to find competitive employment for those persons. And, we make sure that we provide whatever supports, transportation. They know the routes, bus routes, transportation, all that stuff. So in general, we have about 53 individuals that are employed either internally or out in competitive employment.
Now, are you, if you had to pick between the two, is there a waiting list for employment there, or are you trying to get more people interested in it?
We are still trying to get people interested. We have some capacities where they're full, such as our local community food bank, but those are the ones that tend to go out quicker into competitive employment. So as soon as one leaves, we're immediately trying to get someone filled right back in that slot. So we're not exclusively closed off to saying, oh, we're full, we'll never need anybody else. We're always trying to see where we can utilize someone else.
If you're looking for more people to be interested in that, how do we as a community go about doing that?
Getting your individuals assessed, making sure that they are recipients of ID services is always a plus, because we can better maneuver around and find special placements, because it makes it hard when they don't have a disability because they're out trying to get the exact same jobs that you and I would be looking for. But it's also the same with persons with a disability. They're not any different they're trying to get jobs at local grocers or local retail chains or local restaurants. So we do think that we have a niche in the ID realm, and that is our primary focus of trying to make sure that we can meet the needs of those persons with an intellectual disability
Yeah.
in employment.
I imagine like if somebody was living out where I live in McCalla. And so it's a little bit on the other side of the city from here, the ARC of Central Alabama. But if I were looking for employment, I would probably go to the local Publix instead of reaching out to, you.
And we do assessments. We go to places. Just today is Tuesday. Friday, we had job coaches that were in the McCalla area. They went down to the local Publix, Ross. They did a couple of assessments. They went over yesterday and did an assessment over at the tractor trailer place that's off of Academy Drive, Cracker Barrel. So once we do an assessment and we see what their needs are, their interests are, we also look at where they live, and we don't try to inconvenience them. So if you live in McCalla, we try to find something that's convenient that you won't have issues with transportation. And we want to make sure that that's like the number one priority is transportation, because they need to be able to get back and forth to their places of employment.
That's what I was thinking. I would just go to the local, employer, but you're saying don't worry about the distance. We can still come out and help. So always contact you. Should be the number one contact.
Always contact the ARC. Always contact the ARC.
Well, is there anything that you would like to say to individuals or family members that are watching right now?
I would always recommend that you never give up on your individuals and never put limitations on them, because there are so many barriers that are already currently in place for persons with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities, and we don't want the lack of knowledge to be another barrier for a person. So always just take an opportunity, see that the persons that or your family members have a quality of life, and you want to give them a better quality of life. And in doing so, you want them to live the maximum life possible so that they can receive normal benefits. They can experience life. They can experience dating, community experiences, networking, opportunities outside of the home. And, that can kind of give you a break as well. If you have them out for a couple of hours, just working 2 or 3 hours, it gives them something that you're not able to give them. And it makes a world of difference of having a sense of independency and having your own and being able to provide for some of your own needs without depending on someone all the time.
You see that a little bit where the parents are a little controlling?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So parents, give up control. Let your son or daughter spread their wings. Well, I'd like to thank you for being here with us today and being here with me and spending your time. I think the Ability Baking Company is an awesome program, and I look forward to seeing it in September at the Pepper Place.
Yes.
So I'd like to thank everybody for being here today and watching in the future. We'll be going live on Thursday at 1:45 with Lorenzo Brown's Life Skills class again. So we will see you live then. And at this point, I am going to go ahead and end the stream. So we'll do a quick wave.
Thank you.
And see you guys next time. And we'll stop the stream. I'll give it a few seconds here. I'll do another countdown. About a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One of my biggest fears is to say that we are offline and in fact are not offline. The video has ended. Okay, cool.
We've worked with Lorenzo.
Oh, really?
At the Isable Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met Lorenzo about a month and a half ago. We are also funded through ACDD.
Okay.
And our goal is just to spread awareness. And so I wanted to focus on a few different sectors there. I wanted to focus on organizations and departments. So we do a lot of A.R.C kind of stuff and organizations. And then the other one I wanted to focus on was individuals, just getting together. And then the other one I want to focus on is family members. So I've been doing a lot of the organizations departments, and I've been looking for months for somebody to be an anchor for individuals. And I finally met Lorenzo. I forget how we got connected, but I showed up to one of his life skills class, and I was like, this is what we're looking for. So we go and set up. We don't do any interviewing. He runs it just like he always has, and we just set them the camera and the microphones down so people can be there with them. It's really cool.
Yeah, we started working with Lorenzo about sometime last year, earlier last year, and we've had several individuals, at least a dozen, to go through his program.
Yeah, I was going to ask what that working relationship looks like.
It was great. Right now, we haven't stopped. We've just been using it in a different capacity because he is trying to get CARF accreditation. It's CARF accreditation. It's a little bit different funding wise because we weren't paying for the services to go over there.